I would like to invite Honorable Chief Justice of Superior Court, Mr. George Hutchinson, to say a few words today. Mr. George Hutchinson, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. How are you today? Yeah, that was a little half-hearted. Let's try that again. How's everybody doing tonight? Terrific. Well, thank you all very much. It's an honor to be here with you all tonight. I really appreciate the invitation from the organizers. Very flattering to have the opportunity to come here and speak with this grand organization. Certainly very much appreciate that opportunity. As you heard, I'm a Superior Court judge. I've been Chief Judge here in Gwinnett County for a little while, and as some of you may know, there have been a couple of high-profile cases that I've recently had something to do with. And the debate rages in the courthouse about what the proper role of the press is, whether the press's access to certain high-profile cases and certain subject matters should be restricted in some way or controlled. Others, of course, take a different view about what the appropriate role of the press is in judicial proceedings. I know that you'll be shocked to hear that amongst lawyers there is some level of disagreement. That's funny, right? Lawyers disagree about just about everything. But those people that feel that the press should somehow be limited or controlled in some way do have their reasons for feeling that way with respect to access to particular high-profile cases. The attorneys that practice criminal defense primarily have some sort of a belief and concern that high-profile cases and the press's access to publishing information about those cases detracts from the ability of the defendant to get a fair trial in the case. Those arguments run along the lines of saying that exposure to the press, exposure of the information that the press shares with the community jeopardizes a defendant's ability to get a fair trial because jurors will get information that they should not have access to. The jury pool from which a jury panel might be selected might be tainted in some way by early information being shared with them. And jurors might be given access to information that they should not have as a juror considering a case. Those are legitimate concerns. Some of the other things that the attorneys that suggest that the press's access to criminal cases should be limited are that it changes the way that the attorneys behave in the courtroom. The concern amongst those attorneys that practice and have the potential for being involved in certain high-profile cases is a concern that the people that are actually hearing the case, the people that are participants in the case, are going to start playing to the cameras more than they are focused on doing the actual job that they're meant to be doing there in the courtroom, and that they're going to be altering the way that they behave in the courtroom based on what it is that they think it's going to play like in the press. The other concern that sometimes those attorneys will voice about access by the press to certain high-profile cases are that the cameras in the courtroom, the presence of reporters and so forth can sometimes intimidate witnesses or even intimidate jurors. They might be concerned with the possibility that their personal identifying information might be exposed. They might be publicly identified as a participant in a case that they would prefer not to have some connection with. And then there are others that argue that the press's interest in certain kinds of high-profile cases was really nothing more than voyeurism. An interest in hearing gory details about difficult cases that might involve particularly unpleasant things. I disagree with all of those arguments. I like to read the Constitution, and I think that we have an insight into the way that our founding fathers were thinking when we realized that freedom of the press was inculcated in the very first of the amendments that our founding fathers decided to add to the Constitution. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reads as follows: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. I think it speaks to the things that they were very much concerned about when they were organizing this country, that they put freedom of the press up front and central in the very first amendment that they decided to add to the Constitution. And I think what that does is it tells us that the founding fathers believed that freedom of the press was fundamental to the American way. It was fundamental to a free society. It was fundamental to us operating as an open society where things aren't handled in back rooms. It was fundamental to us being the country that they wanted us to be. And I think that the press has played an important role in the direction that our country has taken. There are a variety of things that I think that having press access to even the highest of high-profile cases gives for us. First and foremost, the press, whether we're talking about the courts or we're talking about anything else that's going on in society that has an impact on what it is that we do and how it is that we live, the presence of the press, the eye of the people, promotes accountability. When the press is present, when people know that the things that they're doing are going to be things that are going to be exposed to public scrutiny, they act differently, and they act perhaps a bit more appropriately. They say that sunshine is the greatest disinfectant, and I absolutely agree that that's the case. The press is the people that provides that sunshine, that shines the spotlight, particularly on the actions of government, elected officials, or other people that are running our country or doing anything else that affects the public. The press is the one that's actually shining the spotlight on their activities, good or bad. They have to account for what it is that they've done, and that's really the function of the press. It promotes openness and confidence. If people get the chance to see how a courtroom operates, if people get to see how the process of adjudicating a case is actually done, if it isn't such a mysterious thing to people, then I think that promotes confidence. The press is the people that expose that to the public eye. Most people don't have the opportunity to be able to come and sit in my courtroom and actually watch a trial start to finish. What we do is we trust that the press is going to be those eyes. They're going to be the people in the courtroom that show up, that sit there through the course of the trial, that demonstrate or expose what it is that happens in the courtroom. And I think that's actually a really good thing for the courts. The problem for the courts is I think people don't really understand what it is that we do or exactly how it is that we operate. And I'm actually really proud of what it is that we do in the courtroom. I think that the American justice system is the best in the entire world. And it's really you, the members of the press, that get that message out there, that shine the spotlight into the courtroom and expose what it is that we do. And that's something that I'm actually really very proud of. So when people come in and they watch our proceedings, I think when they broadcast that to the world, it demonstrates that what we're doing in the courtroom is a fair process, it's a process that they can trust, and it's a process that they can be proud of as members of this community. Another thing that I think is that it gives us the opportunity to remove that mystery, as I said, that people seem confused or uncertain about what it is that courts and courtrooms do. They don't know what the role of judges or attorneys are. Members of the press are there in the courtroom not only to just record what it is that happens in our proceedings, but also to explain it to people that might not have an everyday opportunity to have access to the courtroom. So what I'm telling you is that I think that the press plays a tremendously important role, not just in the courtroom, but in all aspects of our community. The press's responsibility is to inform the community, the press's responsibility is to educate the community, and the press's responsibility is to monitor the actions of public officials. And I think that's something that you should all be very proud of being a part of. So thank you all very much for what it is that you do to fulfill those important roles in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for this beautiful insight into the ongoing current situations on press, how to tackle it, and politics. It's really useful knowledge. Thanks a lot. I would now like to request Honorable Mayor Ms. Barbara Bender to come on the stage and say a few words. Ms. Barbara Bender, ladies and gentlemen.
Have to adjust everything for short people. Thank you. It is an honor to be here tonight with all of you. And I was intrigued by the invitation for me, a local politician who knows nothing about journalism, except for how I may be portrayed by journalists, to come and speak to a room full of journalists. What would I speak about? What can I possibly say that would interest or benefit a room full of journalists of the Indo-American Press Club? I thought I would start with a simple review for you and new information for me of some of the key principles of journalism as presented in the book, The Elements of Journalism, by Bill Kovac and Tom Rosenstiel. It is interesting to read this list of principles and to reflect on whether we actually see these principles displayed in our media coverage of today. Several of the principles set out by these authors are: your obligation is to the truth. Your loyalty is to the citizens. You should have a discipline of verification of information and maintain an independence from those that you cover. You serve as an independent monitor of those in power and provide a forum for public criticism and compromise. The media encompasses a broad spectrum of media outlets: TV, newspaper, magazines, digital outlets, podcasts, and social media. You, like many other industries, are facing unprecedented changes and threats to your industry. According to the 2018 information published by Pew Research, viewership of cable TV and network TV news shows are declining. Viewership for network local affiliate news stations also declined in most time slots. Traditional radio listening is maintaining steady, and online radio growth is continuing to grow. Interestingly, the percentage of podcast listeners in America has substantially increased over the past decade. And it's no surprise that the estimated U.S. daily newspaper circulation, print and digital combined, in 2017 was down about 10%. I know when I was first elected as a council member in Snellville in 2005, there was at least one and sometimes two reporters at every meeting, and a story would be published the next day of what transpired in the meeting. Today, there's only coverage if a fight is expected to break out. The daily newspaper, has gone from 7 days a week to 3 days a week. So at the county and city level, we are having to also find new and different ways to reach our citizens with the news they need that may not necessarily want all of the time. So let's turn for a moment to the influence of the media on the up-and-coming generation, or rather, maybe we should look at the influence of the up-and-coming generation on the media industry. We've had an expansion or most of us in this room have seen the expansion of television, then the computer revolution, and after that, the internet explosion. All of these rapid advancements made profound changes in the way we interact in our world and how we communicate. And some of us are still trying to catch up. However, Generation Z, which is the newest named generation, is growing up with all of these technologies from the very start. By the time they hit their teens, the primary means for connecting to the web was through mobile devices, Wi-Fi, and cellular service. Social media, constant connectivity, and on-demand entertainment are just the way life has always been for them. When you consider the effect on the media industry of rapid advancements in technology and of 2 generations of kids who grew up with it, it is evident that the traditional ways of reporting and relaying news have to continue to evolve. How do you catch and hold the attention of someone who is constantly connected to everything and everyone? How do you compete with the wealth of information available to the general public simply through Google and Alexa? I'm a certified public accountant, and I face the same issue. With the prevalence of the internet and information overload, why does any individual need my services to understand how to run their business? With the wealth of first-hand information available to those who can find it, why does anyone need to read the product of a journalist? How does one take this flood of information and sift it down to information that is relevant in their life or in their business? How does one sort out the relevant from the irrelevant, the true from the untrue? They turn to people like me and you. I can help them quickly read through the overload of business advice offered on the web to provide advice specific to their situation. You, as the media and journalist, can sift through the events and happenings of the day and tell a story that makes sense of everything in the context of your readers' lives. News travels at the speed of light now. Videos go viral in a matter of minutes, and headlines reach across the country in a matter of hours. So now, more than ever, the first principle of journalism, truth, becomes the most important principle there is. Why? Because most any event you report on, most any speech that's given, most any social injustice can be found posted on the internet, captured on someone's cell phone video, or recorded on some area security camera that happened to capture the event. And those first reports, that first headline, are the key to getting the right information out to the public. When your story is reported in a clearly biased way, without regard for truth of the situation or without context of the full remarks given, you can easily be exposed. The result of this exposure is not only a loss of credibility for the reporter and the news outlet, but of the media industry as a whole. One only needs to look at the reporting of the Covington Catholic High School teens' confrontation with the Native American man on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial to consider how far some in the media profession have moved away from the 9 principles of journalism. This is what we are seeing in the 21st century mainstream media. The large newspapers, the 24-hour cable news channels, and the national news shows. In the effort to build the business of news and to fill 24 hours a day with anything, news reporting has lost something. It has lost some credibility. It has lost some trust, and has created a perception that journalists are only out for a headline to sell a paper. This current state creates a higher level of emotion in our country, mostly negative, and adds to some division. When people get angry, they stop listening. And when they stop listening, it's hard to have a conversation and hard to listen to someone with views that are divergent from your own, and to find common ground and find solutions. I was heartened when I read the preamble presented on the website of the Indo-American Press Club. You are striving to foster greater cooperation among journalists in this fine nation. You are offering educational opportunities for your members to continue to enhance their skills in this modern world. And you are pledging your support you pledge to support, recognize, and honor eminent Indians in media in North America. But most importantly, you are committed to promoting unbiased and accurate news coverage of all events with fairness and objectivity. And you pledge to be the standard bearers of media ethics and accuracy. And here is your opportunity. Let the IAPC be the organization that brings truth, accuracy, and integrity back into vogue. Support and nurture other Indians in America by providing a strong network of peers to collaborate with. But please, don't stop there. Go out into your community, engage with community leaders, and report on community happenings, bringing your worldview perspective. Be the news organization that takes the step to verify the information before it's a headline. Be the organization that readers, by your byline, know that this is information that I can trust. Engage your readers to spur informed conversation to challenge the status quo. Again, it is an honor to be with you all here tonight. I wish you so much success in your organization and in your individual's pursuits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara, for giving us an insight on few core principles of journalism. And I'm sure it will benefit not only us present here, especially the aspiring journalists sitting in this room and outside. Thank you so much. I would like to now invite our Honorable Counsel General, Dr. Swati Kulkarni, on the podium to say a few words. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. I'm happy to see a Marathi media here. Okay. With all protocols observed, my warm greetings to all of you. It's a very nice day today. So I'm happy that IAPC, you abbreviate it as, from the Indo-American Press Club, it's IAPC. It started its operations in 2013. More or less during the same time we as consulate came into existence. Because we came here in 2011, but the building and everything, it took time, and full-fledged our consular operations started in 2013. So you and we are growing together.